team rap Jesus. My team go hard. My team rap Jesus. We about to go far. We about to go far.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fervently Creations. Listen, we love platforming people that are in business, people that are doing ministry outside of the four walls of church, even if it's not even ministry, even if it's business. We love just platforming and talking with guests. And so today we have another amazing guest that is in the studio with us today that is going to talk with us. Listen, if you want to be part of our guests, we want you to come to www.ferventlycreations.com and actually register to be a guest on the show. We would love to have you. And quick shout out, we like to shout out RCG Network and Anointed Network Radio, Las Vegas Anointed Network, that both house the show Fervently Creation. So we thank both of the networks, awesome men of God that are behind those platforms. And so we really thank them for giving Fervently Creations a chance, an opportunity to be able to have a show to platform other people, phenomenal people, great women and men of God. And so I do thank you for that. Listen, one thing that I always say before we open up the show is, hey, be careful how you treat people. Make sure that once you are outside of the four walls of church, a lot of times once we're in church, hopefully, once we're in church, we are very nice and cordial to people and very nice and friendly. But are you keeping that same attitude outside of church? Are you keeping that same attitude outside of the four walls of church? And so a lot of times, a lot of people, the only gospel they see is you. The only time they see a representation of Jesus Christ is how you actually treat them. They say people will forget what you said to them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel, right? And so that is one thing I want you to keep in mind, that it is 5 gospels. It's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and you. And sometimes the only one that people pay attention to is, that's it. That's right. That's you. The only one that they pay attention to is you. So before I bring our guest on the stage and we talk to her and actually see exactly how it is that she is networking and connecting with people outside of the four walls of church, how she's doing marketplace ministry, I would like to first open up with a Bible verse, as we always do. And so today we're going to Jeremiah 29, chapter 29, verses 12 through 13. I was about to say 11 because, a lot of times everybody go Jeremiah 29 and 11, for I know the plans. But hey, let's go a little bit further. Let's go past verse 11. Let's go to 12 and 13. 12 and 13 says, then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. Listen, are you seeking God with all of your heart? Are you actually saying, you know what? I'm pouring my heart out to you. I'm giving this to you. I'm seeking you with my whole heart. Are you, when it said you will call on me and come to me and pray to me, and I will listen to you. He will listen to you if you're calling on him, if you're coming boldly to him and praying to him, asking him what it is that you want. Quit putting God in a box thinking that he can only do surface level things. We serve a big God. We serve an enormous God, and you can trust him with the big things. You can trust him to include that big heart of yours. You can trust him with the big heart of yours that you have and actually say, God, this is what's in my heart. This is the desire of my heart. I desire to start this business. I desire to start this ministry. I desire to whatever the vision it is. And you go to God and you say, God, this is what I need for you. I know that during this time, once we look at that in Jeremiah 29, Jeremiah chapter 29, period, right? They was about to get ready to go into a season of captivity. They was about to get ready to go. And so what the message that God was giving Jeremiah to tell him was, do not worry, because he knew the plans that he had for him. And he knew that once they was in that season, sometimes we have to go through a test. Sometimes God has to put us through some things or whatever to get us to begin to rely on him, trust in him. Because even in that season, even in that moment that where they was about to struggle for a minute, it was going to be uncomfortable for them. Even in our uncomfortable moments, he wants us to still call on him. He wants us to come to him. He wants us to pray to him and trust that he will listen to us, right? So a lot of times we feel like, oh, while we're going through some things, and because I called and I called on him once and I prayed once or whatever, that he didn't hear me. He's saying, I will listen to you. They was about to go into an uncomfortable season, but he was still saying, call on me anyway. Come to me anyway. Pray to me anyway. I'm still going to listen to you. I am here. I'm listening to you. Once you seek me and seek me, and not only seek me, he said, find me. They was going to seek and find me. And when you seek me with your heart, you will find me with, and it says, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. We have to give him all of our heart. And sometimes our heart is we're kind of straggling on that. Sometimes we're on one side of, got one leg on one side of the fence, the other one on the other. As I said, sometimes we have one side in the world and one side, with our faith, or one side of doubt and one side of faith. We have to seek him with our whole heart. So with that, I do want to bring up our guest today, Dr. Theresa Mason Ford. I want to see exactly what she has to say about Jeremiah 29 and chapter 29, verses 12 and 13, to see exactly how does what she thinks of, what comes to her mind when she reads this verse. Hi, Dr. Theresa. How are you doing?
I'm good, Prophetess Tish. How are you?
I am great. What says ye about Jeremiah 29, 12 and 13?
Well, calling on God is the first thing we need to do in any and everything. We should seek him daily. But this scripture is one of my favorite. Jeremiah 29, 12, 13 is my favorite. And I just bless God for this, because we must understand we are in an hour that we have to call on God. We have to seek him. And we must seek him, but we also must listen to what he is saying. I do believe if we do seek him with our whole heart, we will find him. You draw nigh to him, he'll draw nigh to you. So I just, know God is really leaning in our direction in this season about seeking him and praying to him and understanding the strategies that he has for us in our lives.
Yes. And something you said, and listen, he says, and I will listen to you, but listen, are we listening to him? Are we listening for his voice or for his instructions? And sometimes we don't get out of our own way, or we don't sit quiet enough to say, God, what are you telling me? We want to pick up the phone and figure out what such and such is saying, and what pastor so-and-so, or what apostle so-and-so, or what sister so-and-so, or what does my friend say about it? But what is God telling you about it? Are you actually sitting and listening to what he is saying? Because he will speak directly to you in that thing that you're asking him for. Sometimes it'll be through scriptures. A lot of times people are calling people, looking for a prophetic word or chasing prophetic words. It's like, if you open up that book, you open up that Bible, you will get a prophetic word about any situation that you're going through. If you pick it up, he will speak directly to you. I don't care how many times you read a verse. You can read it and quote it 1,000 times, but sometimes you can go through a situation and that verse hits you different. It'd be one word that just stands out to you. So as you said, are you actually listening?
Right.
Are we listening?
Yeah, no, one of my mentors, Apostle Joshua Giles, he always says, when you want to hear from God on anything, you pray, you listen, and you write. And we must understand that the key to everything, to what God wants us to do now and in the future, is to listen to him, because he is the details. He gives you the details. It's not you. You're just the person that he's using, the vessel that he's using. So you're absolutely right. Seek him with your whole heart.
I like that. Pray, listen, and write. And I think that's something I need to get back to doing, is going into my prayer room and actually praying and listening and sitting there with notebook, pen and paper, and write. So I thank you for that. Like, I thank you for sharing that nugget with us. So listen, who do we have the pleasure of speaking with today, Dr. Theresa? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Dr. Theresa Mason Ford. I'm a mother, a wife. I'm in government. I manage solar programs here in Washington, D.C. I own two businesses. My first business is F Square Contractors, Inc. for residential remodeling and commercial remodeling. We're actually revamping that business to go into solar, mainly for women, because it's not diverse. And my other business is Access Granted LLC, where we do FBI background checks and screenings.
Awesome. So how did you get into the commercial and the residential remodel? Like, what was the passion? What got you into that?
So, well, first of all, you know, the word says life and death is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it shall eat its fruit, right?
Right.
So, me not being really saved like that, I've been raised in the church, knowing God when I was younger, I always spoke out my mouth that I wanted to have homes in the north and the south and on the beach, right? Not knowing that God would send me a husband that was in construction, and we met in 2017. He's been in construction for over 41 years, and he's been working with commercial properties, helping clients flip homes, and helping also multifamily home landlords. And that's how I got into it. When I moved from North Carolina, I'm originally from Florida, moved from North Carolina in 2017 to DC, and I met him, and we were just talking. We got married, and I wanted to do something different. I saw him working for everyone else, so I decided to start our own business in 2019, and that's how it started. F Square Contractor Scene, and the F is of course for Ford, squares for both of us, and then with contractors. So that's how it started. With him, just his vision, and he loves working with elderly people. Excuse me. And he's really concerned about the gentrification in our areas. You know, them pushing, the older community out when they were the ones that built it. His heart is to just build up the community and serve the people of God. So
That's awesome. So and to actually go back and to give towards to the elderly. And so how do you balance with working together and then also at home life, like just that switch? I asked because I know it was we figured it out with me and my husband for years. Like before we had went active duty military, we both worked at a plant together. And then once we went active duty, a lot of times we worked in the same exact motor pool together. And so it was just like, okay, we saw each other all day. So how do you balance the life in those for those that are actually in business with their spouses?
well, it's just balance. You have to know your role and your position, and you can't overstep those boundaries. So for us, I'm the administrator. I'm the one that look over the finances and things like that, and he is fine with that, and he knows his role. His role is he's a worker, and he has no problem with that. But on the other end, with him being the worker and me being the administrator, I know that there are some things that he is in that I need to know and I need to be privy to in order to assist our clients, to the utmost levels in business. So you just got to know each other. You have to respect each other's boundaries when it comes to certain things. And you got to learn to evolve in the business together. So
So
that's how
what
we.
was your out of all of them, what has to this date been your most memorable or favorite project?
So we're actually finishing up one right now, a multifamily home. Um, my most memorable right now with him would be just how he takes his time. He doesn't, move quickly with construction. He's moving at the pace that he needs to, making sure everything is secure, the plans are right. He's very detailed, and he'll tell you, listen, I can have this up in a week, but I want to make sure everything is run, especially if you have an older building, because mainly in DC, we have a lot of older buildings and things like that. So he's actually finishing up right now as we speak, because there are some owners that want to move in tomorrow.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. So I love that y'all actually have something that y'all actually do together. And I mean, to me, that it's still ministry. That is
Yes.
a ministry because you are helping, you are providing yourself. So I love that. And the fact that you said that when she was a little girl, you spoke that. And so it's power in what we speak. And I always say, like, if you keep going around talking about something, I'm broke, you're gonna wonder why you're struggling and living paycheck to paycheck. It's because
Mhm.
what you have released out of your mouth so long. And sometimes we say unfruitful words in
Yes.
our life.
Mhm.
Now, so we have to speak life. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely right. I mean, like we said, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it shall eat its fruit. And the thing about it is, you have to understand that you want to speak fruit that shall remain and not fruit that's going to wither like the fig tree. God had to curse the fig tree when he was walking through the city because it was not producing any fruit. So you want to speak life so you can see the fruit that you will produce for your children, your children's children, exceeding the third and fourth generation. So I agree with you.
And so you said generations as well. So you are in the process of creating generational wealth, right?
Yes, I am. I am. So, with all that going on, I wear many hats. And there's one thing I probably forgot to say earlier. So, Dr. Theresa received her PhD earlier this year, and it's in philosophy Christian counseling. So, the Lord has me working on that. I'm looking to do, things with adolescents, young girls, teens and things like that to help build their self-esteem and coming out of different areas of just brokenness.
Yeah.
I myself went through some things when I was young, and God tapped me on the shoulder because I ran from it. And back in 2013, I was supposed to go through theological school and Liberty. And I didn't see myself worthy enough to go through those things because I was going through a whole lot.
Yeah.
And God said, no, you need to go back to that. I said, well, I was studying for law school. So that's the ultimate goal here for me. And with everything I do, it ties in, real estate and commercial and all that residential. And God told me he wanted me to go back because there's some things that I needed to do. And I was like, well, God, how's all of this going to tie in? And it ties in now, especially with me working with DC residents. A lot of these folks, they need help. They need direction in careers, workforce development. So this public administration stuff that I'm in with the government, it's all coming full circle. So God is really showing up on my behalf when it came to this because I didn't know how I was going to use this now or going forward.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm currently in at Liberty University working on my doctorate degree. And
Yes.
so I'm doing it in biblical studies as well. And so I have the bachelor's with Christian counseling. So with
Mm,
Christian counseling, what is the thing that you mentioned young girls, and
mhm,
because of your past, how is it that it's a lot of people that we have a past, but a lot of times we look at our you see, I'm not going to say you see some people that they don't actually help the other girls that used to be where they are. They actually criticize them. And so,
mhm,
and it actually weighs on, as you said, their self esteem. So we have to build up their self esteem at such a young age. And like my daughter is 18. And so I love my talks with my daughter because
mhm.
it's like I'm able to tell her, hey, this is what mama did. Like mama
Right.
was this and mama was that. Like, baby girl, you better than that. You're beautiful. And trying to get her self-esteem up because it's hard once you're in your 30s and you're in your 40s and you're trying to do it then, but you
Mhm,
have wasted so many years of not knowing your worth, not knowing your value, not knowing who you are, not knowing your true identity outside of a man or outside of your looks or outside of a career or whatever. And so I have that passion for the little girls as well, for the teens. So what is it in your past, if you don't mind sharing, what is it in your past that really draws you to young girls? What was that? What gave you that mandate of just saying, this is my assignment and I don't want other little girls to struggle or young women to struggle in this area like I did?
Well, so my mom was married and to my dad. Unknowingly, he was married to someone else
Okay.
in Texas. So technically, I am the illegitimate child. Um, technically, when it's all said and done. So the
Mhm.
first marriage, they had the mother and their father, and that was a solid marriage because it was on paper. But because he didn't divorce, he came over to Florida in 1986 or whatever. I was born
Mhm.
87, and I was the firstborn. Technically, everybody thought I was.
Right.
It wasn't until like my 11th grade year I found out that and I always wanted a brother and a sister. Now I always said that when I was a little girl. I
See,
wish I had.
you were speaking some of everything as a looker.
I was, and it literally came to pass. But you know what? You got to be careful what you say because you
I
don't know how
know,
things come out, right?
right?
So, yes, I was. But when I found out in high school, I was crushed. Like, my dad always told me I was his number one baby and things like that. And, going through high school and adolescence and things like that, my self-esteem was low. Even though my mom remarried, I mean, I love my stepfather, but it didn't replace, oh, I had a real dad.
Yeah.
And then my dad ended up passing away. And I just went through a bunch of identity crisis and
Mhm.
doing things I shouldn't be doing and, things like that. And
Yeah.
it was just all over the place for me. And God, later on in college, he had to really get me together and sit me down and, really explain who I really was. And it took some time to debunk ideas of things that I heard and things that I saw and things that I felt. So I just want to, and one thing about it is I have girls, I have 5 kids, I have 4 girls and a boy.
Mhm.
And I talk to my kids all the time, so I'm right with you. Like, I don't want you to experience the things that I experience. And I don't think they will because I am the curse or the cycle breaker.
Come on.
Um,
Because we know once you speak, things come to pass.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. In the name of Jesus, I just give him all the glory. I take no credit in that. But
Yeah.
I know when God used me in those arenas, even with leaving Florida to come to DC, he wanted something different for our bloodline. And I know it started with me. There are still things, of course, that needs to be broken up, and God is working on me with that with my family. But it's slowly it's moving. He ain't gonna do everything at one time, but it's we are overcoming and we are overcomers. So those are the things that God has put in me to do, not only for my children and my children's children, but for other people in the community.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so passionate about it.
And it seems like, I don't know, it seems like the 80s, because I'm an 80s baby as well. And it seems like us 80s babies are really into identity and mindsets and shifting our mindsets, actually walking in our true identity, true call. And so it's
Mhm.
like we are that, it's like a generation of remnants that's coming in and say, okay, we got to get to the root of some things. And
Mhm.
we got to, so I think like the 80s babies are full of generational curse breakers. We're full of people that are coming in and saying, hey, it's some things that was not right. But once we look at our children, our children are ones that are like, because we're the ones that are saying, hey, we're breaking some things. Hey, we're looking at identity. We're looking at things at the root. And these the generations after us are coming in saying, we're not tolerating certain things. And they are actually coming in and shaking up some stuff. So it's kind of interesting to kind of see. And I know a lot of times people say, oh, it seems like each generation is getting worse, but I
Mhm.
just think it's a lot of things that are it's not so much getting worse. A lot of things are being brought to light, and things that have been done in the dark, things that have been kept secret for so long, is right out there in front of everybody's face now. And some people, but I just, I don't know. It's kind of interesting to kind of see the direction, and I'm interested to see, even when we as the 80s babies, once you have some of the people that finally go ahead and pass the torch to us, but as we pass the torch, I'm curious to see how these generations are that we are raising now are going to be, because I look at my kids sometime and I think like, wow, y'all are truly smart. And as you said, looking at them, knowing that we have broken a lot of generational curses, looking and saying, I'm curious of what is fixing to be the outcome, but especially in the church. How is this church going to be? Because a lot of people now, we're teaching more of relationship and not religion, And so, and not only relationship with God, but we're teaching them how to be in relationship with themselves as well. And so I'm curious to see the church as it continues to go forward. And speaking of church, though, you also are you over the praise dance ministry? Did I read something about that?
So I was. That has changed a lot. So I'm not, but I started as a child in ministry as a praise dancer at my local church in Florida. I was over the dance ministry, but some things have changed since COVID, and they're revamping some things. So, but my girls, they actually love praise dance, and my spiritual mother, prophetess Adrian Blackstock.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I've actually have met your spiritual mom.
Oh, you have? Yes. Dr. A, there's no plan B.
There's Dr. A, is no plan B. I want to say I met her in the Hamptons earlier this year.
You did. She was honored with an award from the White House, I believe, for volunteering her hours and things like that in the community.
I met Dr. A. I met her. That is awesome. I'm sorry.
Fine. You're fine. You're fine. No. But yeah. So they look forward to doing some things as far as praise dancing. I'm in here in DC. She's in Kansas City, Missouri. But I want them to actually praise dance for her when we actually go up there and visit and things like that. So
that's awesome. My spiritual mother is also in Kansas, or in that area, Kansas. Well, she's in
Dr.
Kansas.
Jackie?
Dr. Jackie had not.
Yes.
And so I'm supposed to be going up there. Try to go up there in March. So that is awesome. So talk to us a little bit about the FBI background checks and things that you do. How did you get into that? I mean, because I say you just multifaceted, but now I understand why. Once you got a spiritual mother like that, you have no choice but to succeed. Because let me tell you, when she said, "Hey, it ain't no plan B." Like, come on now. Like, so you have no plan, you have no choice but to keep pushing and excelling. But go ahead. Look, I know you got good upbringing.
Yes. So, FBI background check business is all Access Granted LLC. I launched it late last year after I had my son, Judah Issachar Ford. My BA, Bachelor's of Arts, is in criminal justice. As I stated, my long-term goal is to get the judgeship. Of course, I gotta be an attorney first. But that counseling is gonna come in handy, hand in hand. Counselor. So I started that business late last year, and we actually had a major contract during the summer, which we completed. And we're working on other things right now. But it's a rewarding business. You get to meet different people, to talk to them. Some people, they feel like, oh, well, what I need to take this for? Well, you need to talk to your employer about that. I can't really disclose why you're taking it, but I'm just here to do this for you. But it's a very lucrative business. It's been around for quite some time, and I love it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So once you speak of criminal justice and your passion behind of being the lawyer, so look, I'm kind of like us. What was you speaking as a child? Where did the lawyer come in from? But where does your passion? Where did that originate from? For just saying, hey, I would love to be a judge, because as you said, is levels to it, so you have to go through the levels, but you already had your eyes set on your prize. But where did this come in at?
Believe it or not, so I'm from the South, like we talked about earlier, and my grandmother had her TV on, Judge Judy Shineland, and I used to watch her faithfully every day at 7 p.m. with my grandmother. And everyone used to talk about Judge Judy. I don't like her. I don't like her. I was like, I love her. And I was young. She was just in her judgment. And my grandmother, she was just looking at me like, I just love the show. So that's where it came from originally. But my mom used to work with local police and things like that as well. So that's where the passion came from.
Okay. So once you go into the attorney side of it, going into the law, like what type of lawyer or like what field? I don't even know how to answer that.
Yeah.
Ask that question correctly, but like what type of lawyer do you want to be? Like what area of focus?
Well, I am not certain yet, but I may be leaning towards different aspects, family, intellectual property, business, corporate business. I'm not sure, environment, things that I'm already doing.
Yeah.
Now, it more than likely will make sense to go ahead and do those things when I become an attorney, because a lot of what I do, you have to almost get an attorney to go ahead and approve and look at things and get documents together and things like that. So once I'm in there, I'm like, okay, I could kind of do some of this stuff myself. I ain't got to put up $2,000, things like that.
But like you said, it still kind of goes full circle with everything, like with your business and the counseling and stuff. And so what did you end up going to school for? Because you do have a degree in what, Christian philosophy, or?
Yes, so my BA is in criminal justice. My MA is in public policy with a concentration of campaigns and elections. And I have helped a judge out of North Carolina before I moved back to DC win her campaigns. I'm not gonna say her name, but she has won her campaign. And so I was studying for law school, but like I said, I got the tap on the shoulder from God. Hey, I need you to do this. So I went ahead and I was like, God, you sure about this? Because what am I going to do with this? So it was in philosophy, Christian counseling. So I, believe it or not, also, before I went into that, the Lord had me meet an attorney who was actually a counselor and an attorney.
Wow.
And I was like, that was not for naught. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now you also have a passion in homelessness. So are you thinking about eventually doing a shelter?
I am. And see, my passion for that, I could talk about this all day.
Come on.
Was like 7, 8 years old, helping my auntie Capernia out of Revere Beach, Florida. She was a social worker, and now she's like the director over the food pantries. And she used to feed the homeless during Christmas, during Thanksgiving, and she did back to school. When I tell you, Prophetess Tish, it was just like none other. I have never seen anyone operate like this before in my life. The biggest memorable part for me was the back to school. She has pulled all the local doctors together, all the people, was it Jan Sport? She'll call them in and pack book bags and have activities for the kids. And I mean, lines were long at Gaines Park in Florida. And I would never forget that. My auntie was doing it, and I just thank God for her, because she is the one that God has allowed me to model when it comes to this. So yes, I'm very passionate about that.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And even with that, for one, if I had learned anything else from just talking with you, is to never underestimate or devalue a child's words or dreams of what they speak about themselves, because sometimes they will even speak their own future or their own destiny, right? And so even the things that you're saying, like each time we mention something for as a passion, it goes back into your childhood. And so it shows how important it is for us to actually encourage the younger generation, the younger women, the younger men, how important it is to actually speak life into them, and actually teaching them to be mindful of their words, of understanding that life and death is in the power of their own tongue. Because as a young girl, you were speaking life into yourself, right? And at that time your faith was even, how do I say it, in a way your faith was more innocent and pure during that time of what you were speaking, versus once we kind of get older, we start to doubt a little bit more. You know how they say you got to have childlike faith, right? So childlike faith is, you're telling me that once you get off work on Friday, we're going to Chuck E. Cheese. So I'm trusting that as soon as I get out of school, that I need to put on my play clothes, because once you get home from work, we're going to Chuck E. Cheese. That's childlike faith. Versus the adult is kind of probably like, I know we're supposed to be going to Chuck E. Cheese, money a little bit low, this, that, and another. Like, the child doesn't know all the odds and ends, that traffic's backed up. I'm not sure if they're gonna be open because they had a bad rating last week. Like, a child doesn't understand all this. And so the childlike faith at that time is so strong. And so, like, as we was talking, like, that's what I just keep hearing is childlike faith. We are to have childlike faith, especially as we start speaking over stuff. I believe that it's going to be this. I believe that this business is going to be is going to come into fruition. I believe that I'm going to be that judge. I believe that I'm going to have houses in the north, east, south, and the west. I believe that I'm going to be able to provide shelter for those that are homeless. I believe that I will be able to open up doors in the wintertime for those that are sleeping up under the bridge. I believe that I'm going to be able to go and help young girls that are struggling with their identity like me. Like, we are to have that childlike faith of believing that on Friday evening, once my mom get home, we going to Chuck E. Cheese.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
so, like, that's just so powerful. Like, I'm just sitting here and I'm just kind of at awe, because who you are today is off of words that was spoken to you, or that you spoke as a child, right? And
Right.
we have to, now I said this to all the parents that are watching, or just adults, period. You have to be careful what you speak to children.
That's
You
right.
have to be, because they're going to do one or two things with it. You're either going to kill their hopes and dreams, or
Right.
you might get one that says, I'm determined to prove you wrong. It's a story about Steve Harvey, and where a lady had said something about where he couldn't be on TV. And I think every year he buys this woman a TV. You heard that story before?
No, I think I heard him say that, but I didn't know nothing about him buying a TV every year for.
I think he buys for Christmas every year. He buys that woman a TV, so he makes sure that, hey, you can watch me on TV.
That's
But
right.
because it was that woman not believing in him. But
Mhm.
you don't always run into a Steve Harvey. Some people, you speak certain things over and you destroy them. And
Mhm.
so it's so important that we speak life. Come on, give me something.
You are right. And the thing, I think that the problem is people are so familiar with just saying what they want to say and not understanding who you really are. And we as a people must not take that in and say, hey, listen, even when you're young, like you may not think that way, but now as an adult, it's like when people say things, you don't know who I am. You're not my creator. You know, you don't even probably understand who you really are. So it behooves me to not take that in and just run with what God has told me that I am. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, you know? So I agree with you. You have to have childlike faith. You have to speak those things as not as though they were, and understand that God has his plans laid out for you. You just have to walk them out and not get in your own way.
Yeah. And that's important, not getting your own way, because if it wasn't the childlike faith, you wouldn't be as far as long. Like you went through your rough spell in the middle part of it, but you shifted back. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you had that turning point, and a lot same thing with a lot of us. We was raised up in church. We get out, what they say, we start smelling ourselves or whatever. We start smelling ourselves or
Right.
whatever they're saying or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
life hits us.
Right.
Let's be real transparent. Life hits us. We don't know how to respond. We make some bad choices. Eventually, we get that thing together and we shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we shift and we figure it out, we're to go back and help them other people to where life has hit them in some type of way or whatever. And so I think everything that you are doing is awesome, because you're doing purpose.
Yes.
Purpose.
Amen. I appreciate that.
Purpose. Like, you are actually walking in purpose. And so it's amazing. I'm sitting here, I'm just kind of like, wow. Wow. Let's see. So you were also a former teacher, right?
Yes, I was. I taught 8th through 12th grade at a private Christian school in North Carolina.
Okay. What was that like?
It was different. Um, my expectations are very high of students. So, some people think you a little hard as a teacher, but I just know what, if you set the bar for a child, they'll reach it. So my class, they weren't easy, but they were achievable if you studied and did the work and put the efforts in. But it was rewarding to me to know that I can go back into my community and do certain things. So it was
But
great.
and that's good, because I'm pretty sure it's teachers, I mean, it's students that will remember you as their teacher.
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, so North Carolina, I have a friend. She just became an attorney about 2 years ago, and her daughter went to our church, and she married one of my students. Had a whole entire family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I like you said, one of your friends was an attorney. And so
Mhm.
you're even making sure that you line yourself up in the proper circles for the goals in which you're trying to reach. I'm telling you, you're amazing. How can people connect with you? How do people reach out to you?
Well, you can reach out to me on Clubhouse at Dr. T. Mason Ford on Clubhouse.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so if they are in the local area and they want to, let's keep that up. And if they want to connect and try to get situations or get everything together to where they're actually able to get a house remodel, how can they connect with you that way as well?
Yes, they can. I'll just further give them, further instructions on what to do and where to go. Yes.
Okay, from there. And then also reach out to her as well through Clubhouse if you want to, as well, if you have a business that you need FBI checks and stuff going on, doing background checks. So that is awesome. You are a multifaceted woman. As we begin to talk, I'm telling you, I mean, speak life. I think I might have put the wrong scripture up for us today. Our scripture should have been speak life. Like, man. So before we get out of here, if you were to say anything, and I'm gonna go to young women, if
Mhm.
you were able to leave young women with anything, what would you actually leave them with on today?
Seek God in all that you want to do. Um, Trust Him. Trust the plans that He has for your life. Speak with Him, listen to Him, walk with Him, talk with Him. Let Him lead you, guide you, and direct you in all that He has. That's what I would say. And trust the process.
That's awesome. And that is one of the things we have to be able to start giving, especially our youth, their voice back. You know, a lot of times we were told in our days of stay out of grown folks conversation or you know, just certain things. And so it's like sometimes you have to bring them into those grown folks conversations and actually explain it to them, because if not, if we don't answer some of the questions they have, this generation, they have the world at their fingertips.
Yeah, we have to monitor our children because
Yeah.
the enemy, it's like, and you're right, but we do have to watch them because everything is at their fingertips. I was just in training the other day, prophetic training with my spiritual mother, and um one of my brothers in Christ got on. He's in technology. He said that all it takes is 15 seconds for someone to contact you that's actually a predator upon creating a Facebook account. I think something of that nature. And I was just blown away. I'm just like, wow, really? So
Yeah. Yeah, and even with because there's so much information at their fingertips, these younger generations, they're dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety and stuff. It's so many of them that know so much about politics
mm,
and other things. Or so it's just like, how do you even know that? And or so, but everything is Googleable. You know, with us, we would have to pick up an encyclopedia and search for certain type of things. And you know, theirs is not that. It's on Google. So
right.
they can Google this information. Hey, if you need help with your social media, you give a kid your thing and they'll figure your social media page out for you.
You are right about that. My son he just turned 1 November 3rd, and we took a trip in October to see Bishop and Bishop Blackstock and Prophetess Blackstock for Manifest by Faith. And as soon as he got on the plane, we flew JetBlue, and the seats are touchscreen. And I'm looking at my son, my husband's looking at him, and I tried to get my twin girls. Do you see your brother? Like, he literally flipped the screen and he hit the cartoons that he wanted, and he stood back and it started playing. I was like, boy, you're not even one yet.
I'm saying they are smart. They are very smart. So, Dr. Theresa, we thank you so much for coming in and talking with us. It has been a pleasure to talk with you, and you are welcome back anytime. So,
Thank
we thank you for coming in and just talking to us and for everything that you do. But most of all, we thank you for your word today. Your unintentional word, which was speak life, even to the children, and have childlike faith. So that if I didn't get anything else out of it, you must have childlike faith. So I thank you so much for coming in and talking with us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I definitely will be back.
Awesome. Thank you. Listen, everyone, thank you so much for coming in, tuning. Once we are doing things or so, we always ask you to network. We always ask you to connect with people, because we say network is not about just connecting people. It's about connecting people with ideas, and people with opportunities. So make sure that you reach out to Dr. Theresa Mason Ford. She is a phenomenal woman, multifaceted woman that has a lot of things that she is doing and offering, even if it's just to pick her brains. One thing that I learned once I had went to the Hamptons is that once you get in the room with people such as Dr. Theresa Mason Ford, you have to know how to ask them the hard questions, the tough questions, and actually know how to figure out, hey, how did you get to where you are today? And so please reach out, connect to her. One thing I also would like for you to do is, hey, connect with me as well as we are getting ready. Let's see. as we're getting ready for our conference, Prisoner of War in the Mind, June 2nd through June 4th, 2023. We have Miss Hilton, we have Prophetess Vicky Bells Harding, we have Apostle Dr. Deborah Allen, Bishop Sean Lewis, Minister Gregory Hadnot, Apostle Dr. Jackie Hadnot, Coach Crystal Henry, Apostle Dr. Glenn Allen, as some of our speakers, Minister Sophia Cannon and Coach Shireen Reeves, who are also co-visionaries, but they also are speakers. We have Apostle Mike Ebron, Prophetess Nakia Hardison, as well, that is on our prayer ministry team. And we have special guest speaker, Prophetess Ambassador Sophia Ruffin. This is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Renaissance Concourse Airport Hotel. Please, please, please come out and connect with us. You can get tickets at our website at www.ferventlycreations.com. Also, I want to invite you to write with us. If you have not already, hey, Dr. Theresa Mason Ford is actually one of our writers, one of our co-authors. But hey, come write with me and Dr. Theresa, along with so many other phenomenal men and women and Prisoner of War in the Mind. Become a contributing author. You get a chance to write a chapter in the anthology. We do editing of your chapter. We do promotion graphics. We do group coaching. We have your you get TV and radio show opportunities, not only Fervently Creations, but we give you a list of different shows that you're able to actually connect with, magazine opportunities. You get a chance to write with best-selling authors, and it is so much more. So each of the packages do offer payment plans. So we just ask you, hey, come out, connect with us, write with us. But most of all, we want you in the place. We want to see your face in the place, in the building at the Prisoner of War in the Mind Conference. So we thank you all for coming out and entertaining us today, talking with us today. And I hope you got a good message out of our conversation today. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.
My King Rap Jesus, we about to go far. My King Rap Jesus.